Hi YouTubers, this is another video from your friendly neighborhood reviewer Evelyn. We're going to do another true crimes video today. Recently I've been seeing in the news a string of reports of toddlers dying by the hands of their own parents. The recurring theme that I've seen within these reports is parents, particularly the mothers, are not equipped emotionally to handle raising a child. And most of these cases come about of parents from low-class working environments. This is not to discriminate that all people who come from low-class, situations are all predisposed to murder their own children, but this seems to be the reoccurring theme at the moment, particularly in the UK as I'm reporting this. And what can we do to solve it? Well, I don't know. I don't work in politics, but the only thing I know is there should be a better education, better ways to handle when young women unexpectedly get pregnant, and whether it is, realistic for them to have a child, and if so, whether they can give their child a better life than they had. So today's headline reads from the Daily Mail. Child killer is jailed for 25 years for murdering his girlfriend's 2-year-old child, son Kyrell Matthews, who was left with 41 rib fractures after couple's horrific abuse was captured on secret recordings. It's so sad to hear when toddlers die. The children coming into this world are innocent. They have no idea why they're in the world. They just come in, and the only thing that they have is the parent, either both or just one in their lives. I just don't understand how these murders can happen so horrifically. The article reads from the Daily Mail. A child killer who murdered his girlfriend's 2-year-old son has been jailed for life, with a minimum term of 25 years after the couple's horrific abuse was captured on secret recordings. Defenseless Kyrell Matthews was left with 41 rib fractures and internal injuries by the time of his death in October 2019, after weeks of cruelty at the hands of Kymar Brown and mother Felicia Shirley, the Old Bailey herd. Brown, 28, was convicted of murder after a trial earlier this month, while Shirley, 24, was acquitted of murder but found guilty of a tentative charge of manslaughter. They appeared alongside each other on the dock on Friday, as Brown was sentenced to at least 25 years in prison, while Shirley was jailed for 13 years. The toddler, who was non-verbal, could be heard crying and screaming on the distressing audio taken from Shirley's phone and played to the jurors during the trial. Multiple recordings taken over the final weeks of his life picked up the sound of Kyrell being hit repeatedly, with Brown saying, "Shut up," and "You have to ruin the fun." Another recording caught Shirley striking her son and causing him to break down in distress. Prosecutor Edward Brown, QC, told jurors the mother put her relationship with Brown above her own child. I don't see how this is secret recordings. Whether, I don't know, some consciousness, the mom was like, have to record this, and maybe she somehow wanted to own up to this horrific child abuse and the murder that followed. The couple, who were unemployed at the time of Kyrell's murder, were both, they say, cannabis users, and are understood to have been visited by social services at least once. They always have to go down that route. If you ask my beliefs about cannabis, that's a different story, but as they say, alcohol and drugs can sometimes uncover the real person's personality. In this case, it happened here. And as well as social services visiting at least once. This goes to show the lack of support, or the lack of infrastructure from the social services here in the UK. Shirley was prepared to reject what could have been motherly care and protecting Kyrell in favor of abuse by his own mother, and in favor of abuse carried out by a man she knew was abusing her child, Mr. Brown told jurors. The truth is, his death came when once more he was abused in the flat, once more in a very similar way, carrying very similar injuries, except on this occasion it was much more serious and the abuse and results were catastrophic. In a 111 call made by Kyrell, After Kyrell collapsed at home on October 20, 2019, Shirley sobbed and she was told by a clinical advisor to use both hands and push down fast and to go for it. Both defendants from separate addresses in Thornton Heath declined to give evidence during the trial, but the court heard Brown's defense was the injuries inflicted was a result of incorrect advice from the operator on how to resuscitate Kyrell. Paying tribute to Kyrell outside court after the couple were convicted, his paternal step-grandmother, Christine Erner, said he was the most loving little boy, always smiling. Jurors were not told that police had been called on an earlier domestic incident, but no offences were identified, and Kyrell was said to have appeared safe and well. I think that's the point where social services had to have intervened more. A passerby had alerted officers on July 17, 2019 after hearing shouting and screaming coming from their flat with a female voice saying, "Stop hitting my face." It followed an attack in May 2019 when Kyrell suffered a significant injury on the side of his face and spent 5 days in Croydon University Hospital. The hospital carried out an investigation and found Shirley's explanation that the little boy had fallen off the sofa and hit his head on a high chair was plausible, police said. 11 out of the 12 jurors returned to court on Friday to see the couple being sentenced, while members of Kyrell's paternal family sat together in the well of the court. Brown's lawyer, Mark McDonald, said the audio clips were horrendous and argued the only mitigation was that he not intended to kill the boy by inflicting the injury. Louise Sweet, QC, defending Shirley, said the mother had admitted to allowing her son's death prior to the trial, showing she accepted at the core of her heart of her criminality, which was failing to protect Kyrell. The barrister added that Brown appeared to have played the dominant role in the relationship and was older and more sophisticated than Shirley. Passing sentence, Judge Luke Kraft said, "Many others looking from the outside into this case, and now particularly those desperately seek to have a family, will struggle to understand how those primarily responsible for this little boy's nurture and day-to-day care have been acted so cruelly to take his life." It was just a month over his second birthday when he was killed. The photographs and video clips show him to be a bright and bubbly little boy. The judge described the recordings in its entirety as harrowing and deeply upsetting and said it being an element of degradation and sadistic behavior towards the toddler. "You should have been caring for this 2-year-old boy, not abusing him," he told Brown. He also told Brown, who had multiple previous convictions, his conduct towards Kyrell had been cruel and brutal, and described the catalogue of injuries inflicted against the toddler as truly shocking. He added it is clear that Shirley had taken part in the violence, telling her, "Any normal parent's response is to love and protect their child. You did nothing. You did neither." And it really mattered. The Metropolitan Police said finding audio recordings of the abuse thought to have been secretly taken by Shirley to check whether Brown was cheating on her made this case unique and especially distressing. So that's the reason that I take back with my previous theory, because this is my first time reading this article in its entirety. That's why I advocate for extensive contraception, and not everybody is meant to have a child. I'm sorry, but not everybody. Detective Chief Inspector Kate Kieran of the Specialist Crime said, "This is a horrific case and the injuries inflicted on Kyrell were truly appalling." I hate the word appalling. No, truly horrifying. It's impossible to understand how someone can brutalize a child in this way. This was not some sudden loss of temper. These injuries show that the abuse of Kyrell went on and on. It was during one final brutal assault that Kyrell's sad, short life was brought to an end. Samantha Yerland from the Crown's Prosecutor Service said, "This was a violent, determined and repeated patterns of assaults against a defenseless young child. Kyrell Matthews would have been in significant discomfort the days before his death, and tragically, he would have died in pain. As a mother, Felicia Shirley should have protected him, but instead of going along with her partner, she subjected him to countless assaults in their own home." Well, YouTubers, this is the end of this video. A really sad video. I think family members should intervene when they see something is not going right externally. Not wait until the abuse has finished for them to step in, and after that to be crying saying, he was such a nice little boy, and instead they could have intervened earlier. This true crimes video is food for thought that with the education that we have now in towards high school, think first before bringing children into this world, whether you're truly capable of sacrificing your life limb for your child. Doesn't matter if you come from poor circumstances, it's the moral compass that you have within yourself. If your previous parent, whatever, abused you, break the chains. Don't act in the same way towards your own child. Instead, we have a repetitive cycle of abuse. Anyway, YouTuber, share this video and put this out as a word of warning. Children need to be protected from foremost before anything else.